April the 5th, bird courting. Courting continues from last month, but with a slight change of emphasis. In March, there were more bold appearances and loud singing and proclaiming the male's presence and his suitability as a mate. In April, the courting is a little more refined. There are fewer fights with rivals and more subtle behaviours to secure the female's attention and draw her towards a favourable nesting site. More birds can be seen in pairs, although there are still plenty of flocks of wood pigeons and carrion crows on open spaces. The testes of cock sparrows may have increased 400-fold, making him considerably more attentive to females. There is even more strutting with upturned tail, feathers, and more bold stands than last month. Robins may still be seen feeding females, and wrens are still singing loudly from the tops of bushes. Hedge sparrows are still shivering, and wood pigeons still wing-clapping and indulging in unnecessary V-shaped glides. Blue tits and great tits can be seen diligently searching for nest sites. Male great tits perch at the nest box and even look inside to examine their suitability. The female, encouraged, sometimes pecks at the box as if to check its solidity. Males can also sometimes be seen throwing leaves about. Greenfinches, between their display flights, are running around on the ground, sometimes even running towards humans and then swerving away just at the last moment. The females, if encouraged, squat, shiver, and raise their tails. Crows, magpies, and jays are all still flying extravagantly and using a softer, more varied vocabulary than usual. Jackdaws sometimes have aerial displays involving large numbers, but if near a female, they make sure to show off their grey nape. The redstart has sadly now almost disappeared as a breeding bird in London, which means we are deprived of observing its famous courtship. These handsome orange, black, and slate blue birds are known to use nest boxes. The male will sit in them with his head protruding out looking for females. When she appears, he stretches his head and hisses at her. There is more chasing than enticing in this particular courtship, and he is not above putting his head in the nest box and then fanning his bright orange-red tail out of it to attract her attention. They have survived for some time in London's rural areas, but have now almost disappeared from London's 300 or more central woodlands. Epping Forest and Ashstead Forest are still places to wander around and hope. Another rarity almost lost is the delicate bowing and purring courtship of turtle doves. Their behaviour has always been associated with gentleness, love, and fidelity. It can occasionally still be seen in places such as Buckham Common. One of the most charming displays of the month is that of the redshank, who bows, raises his wings into a V-shape, and then appears to tiptoe past the female, whilst at the same time yodeling. This can be seen on Rainham marshes. Mostly hidden and unseen, partridges stand breast to breast and rub their necks together. Two other charmers, more easily observed, are the spring gatherings of magpies and jays. In the former there is much sinuous flying and excessive tail wagging, and in the latter much drooping of wings and raising of crests. Another two displays worth seeking out are the yellowhammer and the pied wagtail. The yellowhammer is quite dazzling when he drops his wings, raises his crest, and fans his tail, only to be completely ignored by the female. The overtures of the pied wagtail are equally amusing. He points his beak towards her, then dances in a half circle around her, keeping his head and wings down and tail spread, whilst continually calling "Chiswick." The most extravagant of all courtships, the great crested grebe, can still be seen in the early part of April. The most savage of all courtships is seen in mallards. Several males can be seen mercilessly chasing a female. They swim around her with their bills in the water and, given a chance, grab the nape of her neck. Usually the number of times waterfowl mate reaches a crescendo 1 or 2 days before the eggs are laid. The displays of raptors are now getting particularly exciting. Sparrowhawks continue from last month to make soaring circular flights up to 100 feet or more, often just above a nesting female. His tail will be fanned out before he closes his wings and dives down towards her. This can be seen as centrally as Highgate Wood. To have the chance of seeing any of the famous aerial passes between courting hen harriers, it would be necessary to go to Elmley Marshes in Kent and Hope. But hobbies can sometimes be seen doing the same thing in places such as Ashstead Forest. The more familiar kestrel does not go in for anything other than a shrill call over the nest. More recently, with peregrines nesting on the Houses of Parliament, there may be a chance to see their dazzling display. This can consist of two birds diving and soaring repeatedly together at breathtaking speed. By the end of the month, you are likely just to see the tiercel hunting, as it is he who now feeds his considerably larger mate while she sits on the nest.